The transport pod shuddered as it broke through Kyrath 7's atmosphere, emergency lights painting Bella's face in rhythmic red. She'd been a xenobiologist for 8 years, but this was her first solo survey mission to a Class 4 predator world. The safety protocols were clear. Stay in designated zones, maintain barrier fields, and never, ever interact with juvenile apex predators. The crash changed everything. Bella dragged herself from the wreckage, her left arm hanging useless at her side. The distress beacon blinked weakly. 72 hours until rescue, if the signal even penetrated the electromagnetic interference of Kyrath's iron-rich crust. Around her, the forest loomed massive and alien, its violet canopy filtering the binary suns into an eerie twilight. That's when she heard the chittering. 3 shapes emerged from the undergrowth. Kyrath stalkers, barely adolescent, each the size of earth tigers. Their obsidian scales caught the light like oil slicks, and their 6 eyes tracked her with unsettling intelligence. Bella's heart hammered. Adult stalkers were apex predators that hunted in coordinated packs and could disembowel prey with their serrated tails. These cubs were lost, confused, and making distress calls that echoed through the trees. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But Bella had studied enough predator behavior to know that running meant death. Instead, she did something that would baffle every alien species in the Galactic Council. She sat down. Cross-legged on the mossy ground, Bella made herself small and unthreatening. The cubs circled her, hissing, their tails coiled tight. The largest, a female with a distinctive white marking on her snout, approached within striking distance. Bella remained perfectly still, her breathing slow and controlled despite the agony radiating from her broken arm. "Hey there," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're lost too, aren't you?" The cubs didn't understand her words, but they understood tone. The lead cub tilted her head, her aggressive posture softening slightly. Bella had seen this before in Earth animals, juveniles separated from their pack, frightened and seeking something familiar, something safe. Hours passed. The suns tracked across the sky, and Bella didn't move except to splint her arm with torn fabric and a branch. The cubs remained nearby, sometimes wandering a few meters away before returning, their distress calls becoming less frequent. When night fell and Kyrath's temperature plummeted, the cubs pressed closer together for warmth. Bella watched them shiver, their scales clicking together. Against every regulation she'd ever learned, she activated her thermal vest and extended its field. The cubs edged closer to the warmth and eventually, impossibly, the smallest one, barely the size of a large dog, curled up against her uninjured side. "You're going to get me fired," Bella murmured, but she didn't pull away. Day 2 brought rain. Acidic enough to sting but not enough to cause serious harm. Bella fashioned a shelter from the pod's emergency tarp, and the cubs huddled beneath it with her. She shared her rations knowing it was foolish, knowing she might need every calorie. But the cubs were starving, and their grateful chirps reminded her of the foster kittens she'd raised as a teenager. The lead cub, Bella had started calling her Scout in her mind, brought her something on the afternoon of day 2. A small deceased creature that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a lizard. It was an offering, a sign of pack behavior. Bella's throat tightened. She cooked it over a small thermal fire, shared pieces with the cubs, and felt the absurdity of her situation settle over her like a blanket. A human, stranded on a death world having a picnic with apex predators. On day 3, Scout's ears, or what passed for ears on a Kyrath stalker, perked up. She released a series of sharp calls, different from her distress sounds. The other cubs responded immediately, their postures alert and excited. Through the trees, Bella heard it, answering calls deeper and more resonant. The adults had found them. 4 massive stalkers emerged from the forest, each 3 times the size of the cubs. Their eyes locked onto Bella, and she saw her death in those calculating gazes. She remained seated, her heart rate spiking but her body language calm. Scout ran to the largest adult, her mother, presumably, and made a series of chirps and whistles, gesturing with her tail toward Bella. What happened next would be studied by xenobiologists for decades. The mother stalker approached Bella slowly, head lowered, examining her with all 6 eyes. Bella kept her gaze slightly averted, a submissive gesture in many predator species. The stalker's breath washed over her, hot and smelling of meat. Then, impossibly, the creature pressed her massive head against Bella's shoulder, the universal gesture of pack acceptance. Scout chirped happily. When the rescue team arrived an hour later, they found Bella sitting calmly in a clearing, surrounded by a pack of Kyrath's most dangerous predators. Henry, the mission coordinator, nearly fired his plasma rifle before Bella raised her good arm in warning. "Don't," she said firmly. "They're family now." The stalkers watched the humans with wary eyes but didn't attack. As Bella was helped to her feet and guided toward the rescue shuttle, Scout followed for a few steps, making soft, questioning sounds. Bella knelt one last time, placed her hand on the cub's head, and felt the vibration of something like a purr. "You found your mom," Bella whispered. "Now I'm going to find mine." As the shuttle lifted off, Henry stared at Bella in disbelief. "Do you understand what you just did? No species in the galaxy would have survived that. You should be dead." Bella looked out the window at the violet forest below, where she could still see the stalkers watching their departure. "Maybe that's the difference," she said quietly. "Most species see predators and think monsters. Humans see babies who need help and think—" She paused, smiling despite her exhaustion. "Friends." Henry shook his head, already composing his impossible report. Another human doing something that should have been fatal, and somehow turning it into a diplomatic incident with a species that couldn't even be diplomatic. Humanity, he thought, always making the galaxy reconsider everything it thought it knew. Below, Scout watched the sky until the shuttle disappeared, then turned back to her pack, carrying with her the scent memory of the strange, soft creature who had sat with her when she was lost.